All right, episode 8. I
Yeah.
finally remembered what number we're on. Episode 8. Andrew, we got Andrew back, man. Welcome back, Andrew. After a big win at OSG, uh, huge congratulations. We're gonna get into all that. I kind of gave you a little heads up before.
Yep.
I think we're gonna kind of stick with this. Maybe try to make a tradition out of this. It was a lot of fun last week with Kimby. We're gonna do a little bit of trivia. See if you know our shit, and moving forward, if our guests know their shit about strongman. Today, John's gonna actually ask the questions. He hasn't told me what any of them are. So if you can't get it, we'll see if I can. And I'll probably just make an ass of myself because I don't know anything about anything. So
Did Camby get them all right? Am I trying to beat Camby?
no. So I think we're
Is there
we
money on
have
the
a
line?
few. We have to know someday, hopefully, man. That would be amazing. I keep I think about I don't know if you ever listened to Liquid Metal on a Sirius XM, but they have Into the Trivia Pit, and dude, it's amazing. And I would love to do something kind of similar, our own thing, but trivia for strongman. It would be amazing. Have people call in and stuff, but maybe someday we'll get there. But anyway, Camby, I gave Camby some pretty hard questions, to be fair.
So my questions are significantly easier because I didn't have much time to put them together. So
Cool, man. Well, I'll just hand it over to you, John.
yeah. So starting off, which country has hosted World's Strongest Man the most?
I mean, it should be United States. I mean, the first 3 or 4 years it was.
That's good.
Yeah, right? It is the United States,
Yeah,
right?
it's right. And following up on that, which two countries have had the most wins for their nation or produced the most winners?
It should be Iceland and the United States.
Yeah, we've had 12 wins for the U.S. and 9 for Iceland.
Nice.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I don't mean to interrupt it, but one of the things I always think of is do you guys know what or who the world strongest man was the year they were born? So I'm young enough to be able to have that happen.
Bill Willman.
Okay, so you know yours. What about you, John?
I do not know mine. What is yours?
Ted Pierre Vandepar or whatever, how you find it, the guy who's really tall, like 7'1", 7'2". He beat Magnuson in Iceland with the Husfeldt stone drop he had. It's the only year he won, and now he literally lives off welfare.
Oh
Oh, wow.
no.
Like just the full circle. Like you can be world strongest man, and you beat the best, and then yeah. So sorry,
No, unfortunately,
I didn't
unfortunately,
interrupt
it
your
doesn't
trivia,
pay very well.
but you said Iceland.
No,
I
I
think I
live.
would have got your question wrong though, John. I would have said Iceland and UK, but
Yeah.
apparently
So
it's the
that
United States.
it
Well, pretty
was.
soon the UK will catch up if they keep changing the events for them.
Right.
Eddie Hall's
Top
back.
cop.
And y'all's back. Yeah, it does like
So-
what? Viking press.
Yeah, the year
Back.
that I was born, the winner was John Paul Signerson,
Nice.
which
Nice.
leads to my next one. How old was he when he passed away, and what was he doing?
I think he was 31. He was in the gym. It was I believe it was actually squatting. I don't think it was deadlift. I think it was squatting, and it was a heart aneurysm or whatever. Pretty sure he was 31. He's not much older than I am now. I know that.
So you're very close. I'll give Darin one chance. You're right
all,
there.
all the rock stars die at 28, so I'm going with 28.
No, 32.
So he's 32. He's my age.
32.
So that's the crazy part, is that he won the year I was born, and now.
Yeah. I knew he was young, but I didn't know.
And
had
the
no idea.
lore says deadlifting with an aortic heart failure, but I suspect he was in the gym, and probably most people would be like, "Oh, he died deadlifting," because that would be classic.
If I was his training partner, I would have to lie for him and say deadlifting. Like if he was doing like bicep curls and all of a sudden something happened, like load the deadlift bar and then call EMS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's one of those things. As a good training partner, that's what you do. I mean, I don't want to go out on a accessory exercise. Like load something up heavy and then call them.
True. He had
And you got to put
1,000
their
pounds on the
hand on the
bar.
barbell so they go to Valhalla too, right?
Yeah.
So, which So here's a nice side one. Martins Licis, where was he born and what was his home nation before moving here?
Latvia, right?
Yes.
And he was born there, but he immigrated like fairly young. I think he was like 10 or 12. And I believe he's represented both the home nation and the United States in World's Strongest Man. He's one of multiple athletes to have done that, to be under two different flags in World's Strongest Man.
Yeah. And here's a nice simple one. Which brothers have made it to the World's Strongest Man finals?
Which brothers? Just
Yeah.
the Stoltmans? That's it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just them. And here's a nice quick one.
I want the Hodge brother. The Hodge brothers would be great.
Yeah.
I have 6 brothers myself, and I always thought that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
To have, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm really took a strongman like me, but man, that'd be sick to just. I also like the Cotton brothers too. I shouldn't leave them out. Definitely the Cotton brothers are up there. So
it's a good one.
Yeah.
So, and here's a nice one that you guys can both pitch in: is who were the winners starting 2012 to now, the past 10 years? If you can list all the winners. If you could do it chronologically, that would be even more impressive.
Cool. I know I can list all of them, but chronologically is a little harder. 2012.
Yeah.
That was. Oh shoot, that was Big Z, right? No wait, Big Z won 9-10. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, Big Z won 9-10, then Shaw, and then Big Z. So then it was Shaw again in 13, then Big Z in 14, and then Shaw in 15 and 16, then Eddie Hall in 17, and then 18 was Thor, and then Martins, and then 2020 was Novikov, and then it was Tom Stoltman twice, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. You got it.
Boom.
That's real good.
Dude, you know your shit, dude.
Yeah, and that's.
I mean, look at
I don't think I could have
I
done
watched
that
the reruns.
chronologically.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could go back a little bit further. I just have to like get like those anchor ones. Like I know 2009 because hopefully everybody knows there used to be another federation, IFSA, but I don't think everybody does. So like they said at OSG they announced, and Aaron West knows a lot of stuff, and he's saying so much accurate stuff that something small slips in there. I think it was Aaron. It might have been someone else. Said something about Big Z winning and how many titles he had, and something about never being beaten or never being something. But like Chuck beat him at both IFSA and World's Strongest Man. And people don't ever really talk about him because he got hurt. He had a back injury coming like all the track and field. That was always like his like Achilles heel was like his back. So he was like speed, power, explosive, like all over. So 2009 is a good anchor point when you look at strongmen because that's when they allowed IFSA back, Poundstone or Meyer. And then going back, you have like Phil Pfister in 2006, and then Marius would have been around there. And then you go back further, you have like 2002 would have been a good anchor, I think. 2002, I think, was Marius won and Maroon Day got second. I think that's an anchor. And then like I know my birthday, so 92. So like you just kind of like I just like work back around those and then kind of fill in the blanks.
That's crazy. You
Gary
actually
Taylor is
did.
93.
I thought going back 20 years would be too far. But
well, yeah. I mean, if you've been doing the sport for over 10, I mean, people say they're in the sport, but then it's like you don't even know about the history of the sport. Like I'm young, I'm relatively young, but it's like, goodness, have you not rewatched every World's Strongest Man like 20 times yet? Like,
right.
I mean, all the injuries, all the stuff like that. I just think it's something people should do. It's literally on YouTube for free. It's like go there, and click it, and you just keep rolling it, and then you pause.
That's why we want to do trivia. That's why we want to do strongman trivia, because I agree with you. As athletes, we should also know our history.
Yeah,
100%.
And also, here's one last trivia question.
Oh, sorry.
Who won OSG in 2 different weight classes?
Oh, stop.
One of our favorite strongmen of all time.
Well, I think Andrew Clayton won in 2017, and then according to official Strongman Games Instagram, someone else won in 2018. I don't know who it was, but then 2019 was Luke Richardson, the future. 2020 was COVID. undefeated. 2021 was Pablo, right? And then 2022, Spencer Remick, which he doesn't get enough credit. I mean, he's been on the podium 3 times. I mean, just knocking at the door. So that was a good win for him. I'm really proud of him on that one. Oh, and then 2017 in the Open was Trey Mitchell.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of big name like Trey, Luke. Hopefully Spencer ends up in the finals. Like Pablo, like pretty much all of them are going to end up in the finals.
Yeah, Spencer Remick, seeing him at the World's Strongest Nation, that was neat seeing him up there and everything, getting into Giants Live. It'll be good to see where he goes. And then Trey's just like, he's a beast. And his mobility is crazy too. For just the size, just like very well rounded.
People discredit because he's not as like vocal of an athlete. I think that's really silly. It's unfortunate that personality has trumped and continues to trump the abilities. Like football players are mic'd. You know how they're mic'd now, but not all of them are. But there's so many players that are mic'd in football that you've never heard them even talk. But like you're fans of them playing football because of what they do on the field. But for some reason in strongman, you can't be a fan of someone unless like you like how they act before or after the event. It's like, come on, like the event itself is like the main entertainment. Like, don't get me wrong, I look for the camera sometimes too, but that's just icing on the cake. And Trey brings a good cake. I mean, not his glutes, but like, performance.
Yeah. So that was good. And everything.
Awesome. Is that all the questions? That trivia's over?
That's all the questions. Trivia's over.
Seriously, yeah, dude, you know your shit.
I know. I was really impressed. You got the years. I was going through it. I was like, because I could name all of them. I just didn't know the years, like exactly.
So I don't know but when did they switch to the modern scoring system where they go, from top down? Because for a while they didn't score like that.
What do you mean?
So in 78 the first year? So
77.
I know 77, I'm sorry. 77 and 78 was Bruce Wilhelm. He won.
Yeah, I call him Bill. Yeah, Bruce Wilhelm.
Yeah.
Dumb mistake.
He won, and the scoring system was like 10, 7, 5, 3, 1. And so then then it was even weirder because then when you tied, you'd have like you could have like 3.75 points or like really weird splits because it wasn't like, it was just weird numbers, but it also made certain places more valuable because you lost 3 points to get second, but only 2 to go from second to third. So if someone went back and actually rescored all the world's strongest mans based on the modern scoring system, I think a couple of podiums would have been switched up. So it just was a really weird. I mean, of course, the judging was inconsistent in the events, but I'm saying like no one ever thinks about the scoring, and then also the heat structure has changed numerous times, and they had wild cards and stuff like that. So when people say like the finals, it's interesting because some years it was like much easier to get to the finals, other years it was harder, and then the scoring affected being like really dominant. Like Bill Kazmaier, a couple of his, it's just because he was so dominant on so many events, but he made mistakes on other ones. And on modern scoring, I don't know because I haven't checked it, but he might not have like dominated as much on overall shows because of that. It paid to be better at 4 events and be mediocre at 3 than it was to be consistent at the whole show.
Sure. Well, they had also an opportunity though too to train the events because strongman kind of started out very kind of surprise these are your events. Nobody really had the means to train or or the know-how or know what the events were to train them. So that's definitely something that's changed. Yeah, I mean, sports have evolved dramatically from where it started. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, now people can ask the promoter to change the event for them.
Yeah. That should never happen, man.
Pays to have friends in high places.
Politics, man. Politics ruined everything.
Yeah. I mean, I still play the card of what my dad told me, just go there and compete and beat everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Just dominate.
Dude, that's what you did, man. You absolutely dominated. I mean, your speed, strength. I mean, we're just through the roof. It's very rare, I think, that we get the opportunity to see an athlete, win by such a spread in points as you did. I mean, going into that last event, I mean, you didn't hypothetically even need to do it, and you went in and won it anyway, which is insanely impressive, man.
Yeah, I mean, I came ready. I mean, I mean, this is the podcast of opinions, but also having facts or evidence or whatever, but like, I went there in 2021 after doing bodybuilding, like 290 pounds, and it was just like tough to watch it. I mean, eventually I want to come back to open. I don't know when. I mean, I don't plan to like leave the sport. But yeah, after seeing like the highlight reels of some people coming out and just being like, you know what, like I really need to like leave the 105 class like in a good way, and there's more money and more clout and editing. Like there's like almost nothing from when I won the first time, so it was nice to like redo it. Obviously, not everybody was there that I wanted to beat, and a lot of people got sick. I mean, I know you couldn't make the trip, and it's like I never. How do I put it? I never want to be not to come. I want to compete against everyone, and it's impossible. I mean, there's people around the world that can't come because it's in the U.S. But I think like heart of hearts, I just want to be one of the top Americans. So it's funny how you can be in a world title and then somehow still not be a top American. So that's where it's frustrating, because by no means am I the best in the world, because I only competed in OSG. I haven't competed internationally as 105. And there's like Isaac Mays, Emmanuel in Australia, all the Russian guys.
Austria.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Someday. There's a lot of European and stuff that just don't come over. So by no means am I ever going to claim to be like, yeah, I won the title that has World's Strongest Man in it, but I'm just trying to be one of the best Americans ever. Is like is what I want to do.
Well, you definitely proved that. You definitely proved that.
Someone from the podcast was going to win. That's what we were saying. Someone from the podcast had to win. That's what I was telling Darin. I was like, someone has to. So Andrew's doing it. It's funny because people actually asked me, they were like, how many stones do you think Andrew's going to do? Because he doesn't need to do the stones. I was like, he's going to do all 6. Like, he's going to do it.
That last one I'm so mad about. I can't even tell you. Like, I picked it up and I guess I just didn't pull it enough. Like, I didn't pull it high enough. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I was a little beat up in the knees, and like, you're a little tired, but tacky felt good. The height's nothing. I think it was like 48 at the end. I knew I would have the extension. The 375 felt great. It was only a little bit like slower out of the lap, but I'm just like shocked I didn't get that last stone. I mean, I was actually probably more pissed about that than almost anything. I was like kind of okay with the Viking press getting second place. There are a lot of factors that affected that, but even if I had done my best, I would have gained a half point or a point. That didn't really bother me, but the stones just bothers me because I haven't finished the stones at OSG, and I like to think I'm a really good stone loader for medleys, and it's not a very heavy last stone. It's just, I guess, fatigue, and it does throw off your pacing when all the stones are stuck to the ground because of the tacky. And I know what to do. I know to bring a block of chalk out and put the chalk down underneath and roll it back over. But they made it seem like we weren't going to have time, so I didn't do that. But then we ended up having time, so I should have just gone ahead and done it as they were unloading it, and then I probably would have gotten a little bit better flow. And I think that flow would have helped me to get in that last stone and really just like rip it past my knees. And then I would have, once it's lapped, I could have loaded it. But yeah,
that's interesting. I've actually never heard that before. Putting chalk under the stone. That's a first for me. Not all the years I've been here, I've never heard that before. That's pretty smart.
I've got to dedicate that to actually Scott Helms. He passed away a couple years ago, but he told me I had a show in Central Georgia. I think it was Central Georgia 2011. Wes Claiborne was there too. A lot of people's tacky was getting really warm, and they didn't put it like, it just gets to be like oil, because that was before spider tack. And he said, yeah, if that ever happens to you, like during the run, like you're on the run and like you're like, oh crap, my tacky's useless. He said, just grab a block of chalk and break it up. It'll just neutralize the tacky. Yeah, you won't have tacky, but like at least you won't be like oiled up. And I just remember that. So I put chalk in places, like I put it on my thighs a little bit, just so as I roll the stone, I won't get stuck on my thighs. Because that's something I see too, is it gets stuck. Like I 3M spray my pants down to my leg, so they never come up. And then I put a light layer of chalk. But yeah, he told me that, and he actually told me I did a stone medley up there, because I just want to give him credit, because he's not with us anymore. But I did this great stone medley. It was one of the best ones I ever did as an amateur. But I pushed away from on the last platform, and it went on. And so I'm jumping around. He's like, hey, that's not how you load the last stone. I was like, man, shut up. Like, I just did a great stone run. Like, just be, but like, he was always about getting like the best out of every, doing it the right way. I can't tell you how many people I've taught that technique of lean into the last stone and, eyes up, lean in, hit the platform with your chest. And I don't think I've ever missed, or no, I've missed like one in Africa when we were doing like 485 where I hit the lip. I've made every stone I've ever loaded other than that that's touched the lip. And I think it's a lot because of what I learned
Yeah.
from people you don't hear about. Those are OGs of the sport that are telling you
Absolutely.
tips.
Absolutely. And there's so many little tips and tricks that I think a lot of people just they don't know. I mean, things get lost, like you said, with the OGs. The OGs, pass on or out of the sport, retire. Don't really have a lot to do with the sport anymore. And there's so much good information for that new athletes or even old athletes obviously don't get exposed to as much as they probably should. So man, that's a good tip, man. I'm going to use that in the future now.
Yeah, some people might say you're being a jerk because, like, if you get chalk on the stone, obviously that affects the stone's ability to have things stick. But like at the same time, it's like, how much is a little bit of chalk on like one, a 1 by 1 inch? Only a tiny part of the stone is touching the ground. Like,
Right.
how is that going to affect the next person? Very minimally.
Right.
Very.
Exactly.
I'm not doing it maliciously. I'm not going out there and like purposely putting chalk on the stone to prevent the next person. I'm doing it so I can lift the stone.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's amazing, man. So, I know people probably want to know more about, maybe a little bit about your training, going into this, into OSG and, mindset. I know you're big on mindset, visualization and whatnot. You had that sign behind in your garage, your whole training cycle. I don't know. Why don't you share something?
Where do I have it? Oh yeah, I have it over here on the shelf. Yeah, I actually hit the sign every time I did a set. Like every time I did a work set, I would tap the sign twice and then I'd do the work set. So it's very much a constant reminder. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like training by myself. It's consistent. I think we talked about that on the last podcast. But then just making those cues, man. I came back with that sign from Clash in Denver, and I just kept that. It's taped on the wall, and that's a $1 motivation tool. It was never late. It never texted me, "Oh, sorry, I have to go on a date with my girlfriend. I can't come train with you," or "Oh, sorry, I gotta let the dog out," or "Oh, I don't really feel like training." That sign was there every day, being like, "F you, like it's time to go." So, I mean, I think people need to have those types of things hanging around them and reminding them, like, it's time to go to work. It's time to get it done.
Yeah, I need to do more of that. I'm really bad about like, I don't know. I can train by myself. Like I trained by myself for a really long time. I mean, I kind of same with you. It's hard to find training partners that are as committed or, that you get the logistics together and get everybody together at the same time every day of training. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't mind training. I mean, I train alone even at the gym that I train at. I'm just around people, right? Yeah, I need to get better with kind of having that. I don't know what you want to call it. Is it kind of like affirming visualization or whatever? I'm just making up words, but to have that kind of motivation, like right there, always written, like you're seeing it every day. Like there's a purpose behind why I'm training. Right. There's a goal, like at the end of the tunnel.
I mean, you put it on your mirror, right? I mean, I put World Strongest Man 105 on my mirror. I just always put the captions on Instagram over top of it so no one saw it. I mean, it's just like, I think I'm my best motivator, and I'm also like my worst enemy. Like I'm the person that's going to motivate me the most, and I'm the person that's going to be like, you suck the most. That's why having a good coach that always preaches up the side of like, you're awesome. So I work with Mike Westerling. That helped a lot with motivation because I've never gotten a text where Mike's like, "Yeah, I don't think you can do that." Like you got to be realistic. It was always like if I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can run that medley under 25," he's like, "You're the best at XYZ." I'm like, "Oh, whatever." He's like, "No, just go do what you do, and it's gonna be there." And I'm like, "All right, I guess we'll do what we do." So I think it's so many facets, and I still try to understand it myself, and I don't want to get cocky like I'm like that special because there's plenty of athletes that know how to have a good mindset, but it is interesting once you start having success, it becomes kind of a habit. So you forget that at one time you were kind of working on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like how I eat. Like I eat 5 or 6 times a day. I don't even like think about it. Like, oh, it's 2 hours later, I eat again. But like when I first started eating like that, it was a chore. I had to have a timer, and I had to do stuff. So I think the motivation or the mindset stuff is kind of the same. As like at one point it was like really harping at write things in a journal about how you want to win and do this and that. And now it's just like I just wake up and I kind of know this is what I want to do. But I've also calmed down a lot. It's not like the only thing I think about. I work. I kind of have a little bit more like life balance. And I think I just, if for 105, I kind of rely on more what I've done in the past. If I bring what I've been able to bring in the past and I'm healthy, I think just how the sport is, the average is slowly creeping up, but the best is still closer than you think. I mean, records still last for a while. Like records might be broken, but that's not a cumulative total in the show. So you could have improved the deadlift by 5%, but that person who improved 5% the deadlift did not improve 5% in the whole show. They improved like 0.5. So like for someone to come back and like I've been running a 900-pound yoke in like under 10 seconds for a long time. So for someone to creep up on that is going to take them a significant amount of improvement. So if I just do what I've done in the past, I should be pretty high placing, and that's kind of what I think OSG proved is just execute what we can do.
Absolutely. And I found it interesting. Have you been working with Mike Westerling for a long time? Or is
so Mike helped. So I went pro without working with a coach. I read some of Mike's articles. He gave me, either confirmed or gave me ideas. He reached out to me sometimes when I wasn't able to train his, he's just someone that's super helpful. These past couple of years, I've more consulted with him because I wasn't really sure where I would push in strongman. I handle some of my own rehab sometimes, and he helps give input. But he's really the best coach of telling you like what is the minimum that you need to do, or a better way to put it, what is the priority? And I think that's what a lot of people forget is there's so much you can do, but it's what you need to do. And that's how I think of it is like, you pay for coaching and I'm telling you what not to do. Like when you get closer to a contest, you don't want a coach that tells you A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You want to be like A, B, C, and then you're deloading. And that's how you pay for something. You're trying to be good at 7 events, not 70. So it is he's really good at like that peak. There are a lot of coaches good at building a huge base, a lot of volume, a lot of work capacity, but the peak is exactly what happened to OSU. It was just good peak.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Mike Westerling's been around for a really, really long time. I think he's got, a great pedigree. I'm just kind of talking him up a little bit because I'm very aware of, he's taken a lot of athletes a long way. And yeah, dude, I think it's having a good team behind you is really important.
He coached me and he also coached Spencer. So look at that. It's 2 podiums. I think he might have, I'm pretty sure he's the only coach to have 2 podiums at OSG. And that doesn't even count. He had a couple other people place highly or be in the finals. I don't know all his clients' names and everybody, but yeah, he pretty much is that silent. He's not loud on Instagram, so he's just that silent voice of reason in the back, and other coaches are going to come and go and be loud, and he's going to still be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of, you put it very, very well. That's exactly my thoughts on him. Is he's been around for a really, really long time, and he's kind of that quiet voice behind the scenes, and has taken a lot of athletes a long way. Yeah, I think he deserves a little recognition for that. So
absolutely,
yeah, that's awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit? I mean, I know you had some topics you wanted to talk about too. If you want to.
Oh no. No, obviously like being on the show is probably like for OSG because that was like a good comeback performance.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's already talking about like the hurricane event changes results. Overall it's it was a really good show. It ran well, once all the stuff was figured out. Obviously a lot of people can be difficult. In some ways that plays to my advantage of knowing how to handle, all the stressors and stuff and having a good team around me. I had my dad. I had one of my clients and friend Jonathan help me out. I training partner John helped me out, and just knowing how to like outsource things and like just all the small things, they add up. And I think my team did a good job of managing that. I guess that like it's just there's just like so much going on at OSG, and it's just so I'm trying to put this in a like obviously there's stuff that people like don't know about. Like obviously there's people who are favorites, and there's people who get more interviews and more clout and stuff, and that's what you see on Instagram. And I know I would love it to be more evenly distributed.
Yes.
So that would be cool. It's hard though, and honestly, like a lot of the athletes there were doing it more for experience. They're more to participate. So there's no way you're going to interview 400 or whatever the number ended up being, 360 or whatever. But it would have been nice to be a little bit more spread out with before the show interviews, especially when I kind of knew it was going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it was a good show. I really like OSG. I think it's a good format for me. I've talked about in the last podcast. I think it's like one of the least biased shows. Uh, the only
Bias
issue
how?
is
What do you mean
like
like bias?
obviously Lynn is not going to, well, as the rules meeting showed, he was not going to be pressured into changing his rules.
Sure.
So that's good. There's no
Yeah,
like
yeah.
somebody bullies their way in because they have more experience than Lynn and strongman. And that goes for any promoter. I've been in other, amateur shows. Someone's like, we don't wear we don't wear deadlift suit because old school, and then somehow they bully everybody to take off their deadlift suit, or vice versa, or whatever.
Right. You're right.
So yeah, his integrity is good. He picks
Good.
events that are usually spread out. The only thing that was really missing, in my opinion, was like some type of max, but that's not possible in that show format. But yeah, I thought it was spread out, and I think it plays to the complete strongman, not the strongman that's good at like only a couple facets.
Right.
Of course, I'm biased because I've won it before, but doing it 3 times, I think maybe it says something about either me or the show. So,
Right.
I'm losing my train of thought. I need more caffeine, probably. But yeah, I really like the show. I didn't think it was biased. The only things I don't like is, unfortunately, for the Open, they still have this. Now they put it in as an actual term called wild card. Basically, just means like whoever they like the most. Don't like that. Even though it doesn't really affect my class. I know people are talking about like the 105 should get an invite, the world's strongest man, and me being the winner, you'd think I would support that. I mean, I don't know. I just want it to be fair, and unfortunately, it's never going to be fair. It's going to be a popularity contest, or who looks the best and outperforms the best. So, well, let me check my email. No, I don't have an invite, but I didn't expect one either. So it's just like it is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, the wild card thing kind of sucks because you're telling people if you get in the top 3, you get to go to Giants Live. But also, you can get any other place, and if we like you, you can go. It's like if you were in school and you're like, if you get 90% or more correct, you get an A. But I'm also going to give an A to another student who just put their name at the top of the test.
Right.
And that's how I feel about some of that wild card stuff. And I get it's a sport, but like that just grinds my gears so much. I can't even tell you. And that's probably what you talk now, because I'm just that is
yeah. I mean, well, I mean, I might go on a little bit too, because my experience is, I'm kind of similar. Have a similar mind on that. That the politics and the favoritism gets a little old sometimes. You're right. I mean, it seems like in the United States, it's a little bit more pervasive than my experience overseas. Overseas they seem to be a little bit more bipartisan, if you will, right? More fair. Really? And yeah, that's been my experience. I mean, there might still be a little bit of favoritism, but it's not to the same extent that I've experienced in the U.S. But like you said, at the end of the day, I think one of the things that strongman probably struggles with the most is having the audience. And unfortunately, as you alluded to, or really kind of explicitly stated, I guess earlier, is that Americans don't care about performance, man. They care about if you can entertain them. That's it at the end of the day. So the powerful force that we're up against really is much bigger than the sport, I think, unfortunately.
Well, let me I'll add some of that and I'll go back to, because I don't want to forget this point. So it's easy for someone to say there's favoritism when they don't do well. It's easy for someone to say there's favoritism when it doesn't go their way. It's easy to say all that. So another reason why I had to win is to be able to talk those things. I have to be able to say clearly there's favoritism, but it doesn't matter because, the cream rises to the top. And yes, it could have gone a different way. Who knows? I get hurt. One event changes. I'm mentally out of it. Hein was great. Dan Hughes was great. I mean, they're all great competitors. I have nothing negative to say about any of the competitors I competed with. They all, I mean, I don't think I competed with any of the finalists. I might be wrong. Maybe I did an amateur show. I don't remember. I don't think I competed with any of the finalists, at least at 105. So that was like my first time, and everybody was respectful. No one tried to play any weird mind games. They lied to me about their time that they got on an event. That'd be really stupid, but I've had it happen.
Yeah.
So really respectful, but I do think there have been times in certain shows that there's been favoritism, and obviously, I believe, and it's in my opinion, that if you're sponsored by certain people, or you get more potentially interviews, or people pay travel or do things for you to get to the show, you just get a little bit more advantage. And I know it's part of the sport, and maybe it's my lack of having sponsors and stuff like that. But like, if you don't acknowledge that there is a benefit, like there's definitely a benefit that OSU is in Florida. I live in Florida. And I've said it numerous times. As an American, I had an advantage. And I told numerous people, like, the Europeans, I said, hey, like, I understand I have home field advantage. You know, if this was in your country, it would be run in your format with your implements, your kit, your weigh-in times, probably not in my language. And then I would be at a disadvantage. So I fully respect that. But yeah, there is favoritism. Hopefully it goes away. It won't. It's about entertainment. So again, I had to put out the best entertainment, and I tried really hard to put out good entertainment. And I missed the camera a couple of times, but I added dumb stuff in there, like hump the farmers. I rode the sandbag. I went super fast with the car, so that was pretty cool. I jumped up on the stone platform as people criticized me, like, oh, this guy jumps on the stone platform. I'm like, well, yeah, when you do it 3 times, you can do that, I guess. But like, it's just one of those things. Like, I believe I can add entertainment. It's just no one's given me the equal opportunity to do so, and that's what like is also frustrating. Is you do well as an athlete, and then people assume you're not of entertainment quality, and then they don't invite you. And I'll go as far as say there's plenty of people that I think if you got to know them, they're great entertainment quality. Like,
right.
A lot of people didn't give Trey Mitchell a chance early on. Right. He was just on a YouTube video, and I thought he was really funny. And I watched that guy's channel, like, occasionally. So like I know how his viewers are seeing the channel. And I'm like, man, he's not jokes in there. He played the part they needed to play. It's kind of like this like quiet strongman, but still funny and still adding, and he's strong. So you get entertainment of him lifting weights. You get a little jokes here and there. You get to see his normal life. It's a really good, way. And the same thing with like Wesley Claiborne, Tyler Cotton, like, all Marcus Crowder. I know those are all open guys, but those are guys I think of. Like, those guys don't get the same shake. And like all those guys are, I just talked to Marcus today. He's coming back from tearing, I think, both his quads. I can't remember now. He said 400 for a double Viper press on a wall.
That was ridiculous.
How can you not make like a little documentary about that? I mean, I came back from a knee injury. You can't make a documentary of me going through doing an endurance sport, bodybuilding, and then back to strongman. Like, what the heck? Yeah. Eddie Hall had a documentary when he like broke his finger. It's
unfortunate. I think the world in general is kind of there's always kind of been that phrase, it's not what you know till you know, right? And it's unfortunate that's the kind of the I don't know, the way the world operates. But you're right. I mean, you're talking about Wesley Claiborne and Marcus Crowder. What was the show here recently? I mean, I think it was World even. They were inviting, I'm pretty sure it was Worlds, when they needed to fill a space, and they invited somebody from South America. Nothing against the guy, right, whatsoever.
Very nice guy. Very nice guy. I actually met him. Very nice.
But we had guys that were probably, again, nothing against the guy, that right here in the United States that were probably more deserving, that were more accomplished athletes. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that we get into that politics and people get overlooked for, a lack of social media following or whatever, whatever it is at the end of the day. It's a tough break. But John, you've been too quiet, man.
I was gonna say
no, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, in a click-based economy where like views are what brings it in, it's that idea, like we've alluded to like throughout our show and stuff, of talking about like it influences how people judge events, it influences how people promote events, it influences who they invite, how it's played up. Because I think it's an interesting thing to see now, the format, to realize like seeing over like the past decade of like starting to have more of trying to like narrative building and everything, of like Eddie Hall's year was very much this narrative building situation and everything. Whereas like, I mean, you could say that possibly about Hafthor, but I'm pretty sure he just dominated 2018 regardless of like whether or not there was like a narrative. And now he's gotten much bigger and everything, but I think for a while there is that idea of like, it's how exciting you can be on camera and like how you happen to present things and how active you are. And I think that can be a bit of a challenge, especially when you're like trying to just have it be about performance and stuff. So there are those moments of like, I think it's important to be out there and stuff. And I think, eventually it would be great if someone had enough money. Like if I won the lottery, I would like try to do many documentaries about like tons of these people, because like on YouTube, there are so many great short films that people will make and stuff. Like one guy, forget what his name is, but he made one called The Power Lifter, where he's talking about trying to hit 900 pounds or something. And it was shot amazingly. It's a 15-minute video. Like those things get views and stuff. So that production quality, like you kind of need it to be able to like rise to the top. But I think like your performance spoke for itself and everything. Like you can't, it doesn't come across as a sore loser or anything to be like, look,
Yeah,
I won the thing.
I'm not trying to take away from people that got the documentaries. Like I would just like to get it, and I also don't want to be a person that says it before I do it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, hopefully you already know it's coming. Like I don't want to be like, hey, I'm planning to win this title. Go ahead and send your guys to my house to film me. Like that sounds worse to me. I guess complaining now that you didn't. I think if you did your research, you would have figured out, hey, it's probably going to be a good chance that he's going to be in the finals. So we should just go ahead and film a couple segments. Maybe we just film when we get into Florida. You know, like he's local. Right. So. But yeah, I mean, maybe I reach out, maybe I do stuff like that. I'm not taking away other people's airtime. I just want to be like, I want the good spectrum of everyone. Just like on this podcast, I've already been on this podcast twice. That's not really fair to the other people. There's plenty of 105s and open guys that I think have some good opinions, and we're going to talk about topics that are unique, that are going to help other people. So by no means should I be invited a third time on episode 12.
But it went without saying that you had to come back because you won. So
yeah, no, we enjoyed having you on.
And not that we wouldn't have you back a second time anyway, but this soon, yeah. I mean, you won. I mean, you dominated. So I mean, we had to have you back, but talking about Thor and Eddie, I mean, maybe what you have to do is you got to pick a fight with somebody and publicize it, and then everybody will be.
We already talked about how I like Thor more now. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm just going to forget. At some point, I'm just going to I'm not trying to be blacklisted, but like I'm getting pretty close, I think. Because we're a bunch of grown men playing a sport where we already know the rules are fixed. And I love strongman. I mean, obviously, everybody's, when you get to that level at OSG, everybody's won something, everybody's won, either if it's like a push-pull meet in their gym. It feels so good to win, not only from a perspective of you doing your best, but I mean, it's nice to know you compare against a couple other people and you're a little bit better than them at X, Y, or Z. So it feels so good to put a performance out like that I want to keep doing that because I'm really good at it. But unfortunately, sometimes that sport that I do the performance in has rules that are not necessarily my favorite. So it's that, it's like going to Walmart. Like, I don't want to pay a lot of money, but do I want to support a corporation? And, some people are like, oh, I'm never going to go to Walmart. And good for them. Those are the people that never do strongman again. And they lift weights in the garage and they enjoy it. And then there's people that are like, well, I don't really want to support Walmart, but I also don't want to pay 3 times as much for groceries and my family not eat as much. Those people go to Walmart. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm somewhere closer to that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to just fade off into nowhere. When I have this ability, I'm young enough to do it. So sure. I'm still competing. I'm just trying to find the most fair and best opportunities. And now it's even getting to the point where I think the risk has to be managed with knowing I'm going to get a chance of getting paid. And it sounds really crappy to say that, I don't love the sport anymore, but it consumes my life already. I coach, I train, everything in my house is geared towards, either recovery or relaxing or eating or training. So it's my whole life. So it's not, I don't think it's selfish to want money. I think that's what has to happen to mitigate the risk of what I know can happen in strongman, injuries, and stuff like that.
You could always possibly just win the CrossFit Games next year and get $500,000 or whatever.
There you go.
You could just dominate.
I almost thought he was going to say OnlyFans, and I was
no.
like,
no, 100%. Because I've sent it to everyone. There's a chart of CrossFit Games pays the top 40 athletes. If you get 40th place in the CrossFit Games, you get $2,250. If you get 20th place, you get $8,800. And then you have shows that aren't actually paying out, apparently, in strongman. And it's the money clearly is there if it's run well and stuff. I think one thing, maybe I just happen to be lucky living near Austin, but there actually are a surprising amount of filmmakers who will actually help you out for free and stuff if you know the right people and stuff. I've had several friends who they're like, oh yeah, we could film your podcast live. It would be great. And I was like, oh, it's Darin's in Colorado. We couldn't do, I mean, it would be kind of cool to have my angle be 4K really awesome, but then it's like,
And then
Right.
you get
I
my
wouldn't
like
do the right
my
thing.
like white forehead here. It'd be like you do have 4K, and I can barely you can barely see the top of my head.
Yeah, but I think there are those things out there trying to like have those pairings of like looking, because I'd say for most people it's like I'd say what helped the Stoltman brothers is like living near like I think the Mulligan brothers there in Scotland who do amazing YouTube videos and
Yeah.
stuff. Like if you happen to have the right people, because I'd say the Stoltman brothers really don't do beef with anyone or anything. They do decently well, like somewhat. I mean, yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you if you're on any, yeah, eventually you find out everybody hates everybody, but or not everybody hates everybody, but certain cliques don't like other cliques, and then somehow that
Yeah.
clique doesn't like this clique.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's why I train by
Too
myself.
much drama.
But
Yeah.
I was going to say something. I'm definitely not complaining with the fact that strongman is increasing prize money. You know, I had the best year as far as prize money yet, and technically in my way of thinking is I have only been back since like August. So, I mean, I still have technically 12 months to go, and there's a couple more shows that might have a good amount of prize money. So I'm not complaining. It's more just I know I have to like I would like to know up front what the prize money is, as because I'm taking the risk of entering. And I would love if at some point the big names got like a minimum.
Yeah.
Like if you told me, like, obviously I don't want to pay entry fee, that'd be great. So I don't pay entry, and then you're going to get some production quality out of me. So you just pay like, I mean, I don't want to knock OSG like Lynn didn't do a good job. I think he did a great job. I'm just saying, like, if I looked at it from the point of view how I would like as an athlete, it'd be, hey, this is how much you could make. Okay, cool. And because you're somebody that we think is going to be in the top 10, we're going to go ahead and, you're going to do these interviews for us, and you're going to sign away your rights to all your likeness and everything else like you have to do all the time. And then we're going to pay, no entry. We're going to pay your travel, and we're going to give you X amount of meal vouchers or, some type of to offset the cost. So you're basically getting paid. So that incentivizes me to show up, because if I am one of the best in America and I show up and I get hurt, I make zero. I lose money because I pay the entry. And exactly what happened at Giants Live. I got hurt. I got paid zero. So I trained for American or potential world record. And I got $0. And they filmed me. They have my content. And it's on YouTube. And it's behind paywalls. I'm not saying people go just for me, but my family has. So they've made money, and I got zero. So my family and myself are in the negative from that show, even though I did a really high amount. So if I'm going to do well, that's why you put me at the end of the athlete's order in that event, because you knew I was going to be one of the people in the lead. Why didn't you guarantee that I do well by paying me? And that's what I think it should happen. I think you should know how much prize money you can get, and you should know how much you're getting paid to show up. And maybe I don't have an agent or need to do something like that, but I think that's where the future of the sport is if you want to have your competition be known, like especially in weight classes, if you want to have the weight class to be known, yeah, you can jack up the prize money amount, and that's going to definitely incentivize it. But I think paying the guys to be there, contacting the people that are best in other countries, like, hey, we heard that you hit a 400 and whatever pound log, and we hear that you do X, Y, or Z. We hear you just won your local title. We know it's going to cost you a lot of money to come over from Russia or wherever other countries. We've decided to pay your way because we want our title to be the most prestigious title it can possibly be. And we're going to pay your way because we think you're going to be in the top 10. Oh, and by the way, this is the guaranteed prize money for a top 3. And this coming from someone that knows nothing about all the prize money, all the funding. I'm just saying that looking from the athlete perspective, if someone contacted me and said, Andrew, we really want you to be at America's Strongest Man this year, we're going to pay you $1,000 because we want America's Strongest Man to have a high value to the title, and we want to have every one of America's best people there. We're going to guarantee you this, and then also the podium gets this. And here are the events 12 weeks out, emailed to you, and everybody knows.
Yeah,
that's how I like it set up.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna hate me for what I say on this podcast, but that's fine. Because
no, I think you're a lot of people are of like mind, I think, on that, Andrew. And I know Anthony Furman, his vision and dream for Clash was always to be exactly that. I mean, he talked about it extensively with us when we were at Clash the last 2 years. I mean, they were kind of the real first to offer a real cash prize to the athletes.
He paid me the most before OSG.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really appreciative. I mean, like, as much as I'm knocking some of the stuff or giving my opinion, I'm very appreciative of what I won in Denver. I think that made it's got to be in my top 5 contest.
and I mean that's Anthony San Lorenzo, and he deserves the real credit there. He's the one that raised that money. So I mean it's a team effort, right? And I think it's the same with all the other qualifiers. The local promoters, the one that's raising that money. So give credit where credit's due, of course. But yeah, I mean Clash, is trying to change the format, because I mean I agree. One of the big kind of from the promotion standpoint, from the athlete standpoint, yes, I agree with you 100%. From the promotion standpoint, they have to raise the money. In order to get the money, there's got to be a return on investment for sponsors, right? And I think that's where Clash has really been driving, their promotion, changing the format a little bit to make it more consumable from an audience perspective, quicker shows, one weight class, right? It's condensed down, it's fast, it's more entertaining. And I think, in conjunction to get to where, you want to be. And I think a lot of us would love to see the sport, things got to change a little bit, continue changing and evolving from that perspective so that we can grow the audience, because that audience is where the money is going to really come from. Right. Not directly from the audience, but the exposure for the sponsors, the return on investment. And I've always been a firm believer that, the old school standard format is not going to achieve that. There's got to be some changes to where, there's got to have, it doesn't have to be entertaining like WWF entertainment, but it's got to be.
I'm not getting tattoos for this. I'm not getting.
It's got to be sporting entertainment, right? It's got to be, because I mean, even me as an athlete and as a fan, like I don't want to watch hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of strongman, right? I don't want to like sit there wondering when the next event's going to start or when the athlete I want to watch is going to go, because that's that doesn't make for good entertainment.
I agree.
I think those are a lot of good points. Another thing I think that more things should start doing, because I noticed when I need to get my Strongman Corporation membership for next year, is like now offering people that insurance for like, I think it's like 60 or 70 bucks that like covers up to 25 grand in injuries. Like I think promoters and shows need to be doing more things like that, because there are a lot of like small one-time insurance fees you can pay that will like take care of your athletes. Because that's also, I mean, seeing people get injured at OSG and everything, you realize if you don't have a health insurance, like it's a huge issue and stuff. So I think trying to look out for the athletes, both financially, but also physically, of like having those things, because you realize how many athletes you can have a huge injury and it can set you back financially. It's harder to recover from, all these things that can take you out for potentially years. And I think trying to have that financial piece there, because I think Rogue has clearly proven that if you promote things well and things go smoothly, there's a ton of money there and everything. Because like they're some of the highest paying shows for strongman and stuff. And there is like, people do want to see these things. I think OSG, they had the under 80 kg documentary they put on YouTube. That was really great. Of like, I think having small things like that to showcase different classes, and I think make it relatable and everything, because I think there is plenty of money to be made. I'd also pay to, like with live streams, if I was following a certain athlete, I would pay a premium to get a push notification when Andrew Clayton is ready to go.
That's smart. Yeah,
like that would just, I'd pay an extra $5 to get a notification when Andrew Clayton's about to go. Links you directly to the show.
That would be smart.
Yeah, it would be so easy too. Yeah, because you just have it set up by the rankings, because you already know in the system when they're coming up. Just be like, send it out.
This is your next business venture, John.
It's true. As a programmer, just tell me like, hey, you already have this scoring, you have this list, you know the general time frame. Just send people push notification. Be like, Andrew Clayton's about to go up.
Watch they have the thing for marathon running. You can actually send people, like if they're downloading the app, you can send them like praise and stuff like that as they're running. Like people will run with an app.
Yeah.
And like it'll be live. So you can like be like, keep going, you're mile 14, and like they'll hear it if they have it turned on.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I've never used it, but yeah, they have stuff like that. So like imagine if you could do that with, if you could we all have our phone out, but like what there's an app where like you could literally send stuff to your favorite athlete. And like they may or may not reply, but like it would be like on a a comments thread, you know. So I'm in the back, I'm seeing all these comments, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Or like, you know, send well, for me it'd be like send a meal. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank
Well,
You should also partner up with
and
a
on top of that,
YouTuber
man, maybe
or
a
something.
portion of the
Yeah.
fees that they pay goes to the athlete.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I mean, it
think
would be a way to help support you. You know, I've always thought it was kind of weird, you know, culty with strongman, that having a GoFundMe was always so frowned upon in a sport where, you know, we spend so much money and put ourselves at so much risk, and it's very hard to get sponsors, but you better not go ask for anybody for any money.
yeah,
But um, but I mean, you know, some
it's weird.
alternatives there is to allow fans to support their athletes by using some kind of app, you know, like this, and you know, maybe have a portion go to the athletes would be pretty awesome.
strongly fans. Just send them directly. But I think there do need to be those things, because I think there is that idea of like having ways to support people and stuff. Because I think you see a lot of athletes will do it now, like having their Patreon and stuff like that set up, so you can get like people can support you in small ways of like you give something back and everything. But I think it is a challenge and everything. But I think ideally, as it gets better and better, I mean, you can literally watch like YouTube debates and stuff where they have super chats where you have people making thousands of dollars an hour, just like people will pay to have comments up there. So like once that live stream technology gets better, where like it's literally costs like $5 per minute for your thing to show up there, and you'll have people pay like $200 to have their thing up for the whole time. Like there are these things, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
advertisement.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people need to realize that of like there is content and there is like people do want to find ways to support their friends and like the people they love about the sport. So hopefully as it grows, it will continue to do that and everything. And I think it's going forward and everything. It just takes a bit
Yeah,
of
things are
time.
changing. Things are
Yeah.
definitely changing. I agree. I mean, you know, again, I mean, I'm going to praise Clash a lot. I think, you know, they've done, I mean, they're kind of a catalyst for things to have changed in both Strongman Corp and I think OSG too. I mean, you know, I think Anthony put some big money last year for prize money.
I've heard even more this year. I mean, it's almost that's the only reason why I want it confirmed, because that's like, you know,
Yeah,
how hard do you push? And then if it's if what I think it is, it's like, all right, we're gonna push pretty hard for that.
yeah. So I mean, you know, it takes those you know, those dreamers, I think, and radicals and people like that to, you know, to be a catalyst for change, and you know, hopefully it continues to change and get better, and you know, the future I think it looks good at this point. So you know, hopefully it continues to improve.
I've always been a cup half empty type person, so it probably most of my comments sound like I'm not appreciative, but
Yeah,
uh, I actually have a mentorship for business, and so I just turned 30. And I was reflecting on just like where my life is, and honestly, like I mean, I get paid to teach people a sport that's niche, and I get to compete in that sport. I get to be relatively good in my weight class, and I get to make money doing it.
yeah,
I mean, I've probably broken even. So like, while I'm quote unquote complaining about some of the things I don't like, when I sit back and I think about it, most of it's things I really like. You know, like I get to be around like when we talk about fans, you know, I have a bunch of clients and then people that know my clients that then know me, and you know, all the mutual stuff. I mean, the number of messages and people, you know, I had some people give me some gifts for travel. I never asked for it. It's just there are people that are doing nice things, and I never thought my life would be where I was doing. You know, in school, people thought I was dumb to train strongman and not, you know, not do X, Y, or Z. And now I make more money doing that than the job that they thought I should do.
yeah,
So I'm very grateful for strongman. I'm just someone who wants to keep seeing it get better. And as an athlete, I would love to, you know, I'm not going to be NFL type money, but I'd love to be somewhere closer towards the NFL type money as far as like, you know, you get paid just to be there. You get
yeah,
paid just to entertain. You know, your contract says, hey, you have to stay around an hour after to meet everyone. No problem. No problem. Just bring me a meal. I'll eat it while I'm talking to him. No problem.
yeah,
You know, those are things that I'm like 100% willing to do. I mean, I try really hard to answer every DM I get, assuming it's in English and not a bunch of heart emojis on one of my selfies from someone I'm not interested in. But yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, I try really hard because I know that's part of what people want. And
right.
as John said, there are probably tons of people that would just want to send me a quick one-off question for $5, $10. It'd be the same thing as sending something at a contest to, to if every athlete had like 5-10 minutes after the show and it's live and people just, bunch of throw questions up on the board. You have to pay for it. There are people that are going to do that instantly. Let me ask you about that. Done. $20,
Absolutely.
$20,
Absolutely.
$20, over and over and over. So, but yeah, let's not talk about. I don't want to talk about the problems of strongmen all day. I mean, I just want to make sure we do some positive stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, I believe it's always we can't improve, and if we don't have constructive conversations, and it doesn't have to be. It's not necessarily complaining. It's recognizing that there are areas of that could use change, right? And in order to identify that, we got to talk about it. Now that's kind of where this podcast originally sort of started, was with that idea that there's hard conversations, right? I mean, we called it strong opinions, to be kind of controversial, but at the end of the day, our goal is to have some of the hard conversations and start identifying areas that need change and talking about it and how we can change it and how we can improve. So yeah, I don't think it's complaining as much as recognizing, I've been in the sport for 14 years. Of course, I'm not nearly as accomplished as you are, but I love the sport as well.
For 14 years.
Have you?
No, I'm saying you've been in the sport for 14 years.
It's actually more than 14 now. My first competition was in 2008, early 2008.
Right. So you've been longer than me. You've been longer than me, and you're like, I'm not as accomplished. Anyone that's got 15 years, I don't even care if you were doing freaking a 200-pound Atlas. No, you did strongman for 15 years.
Accolades.
OG.
Accolades. Well, I haven't won the titles you have. Let's put it that way. I've got my own personal accomplishments, of course, right? There's certain things, aspects, like you said, longevity is an accomplishment in itself. But my point is that I can't, we care about the sport, right? We love the sport. We care about it. We care about, the direction. Of course, I'm kind of like you two after this many years and as much money as I spent, it would be nice to start getting a little bit back, right? I mean, because I've pumped a lot into the sport, and it would be nice to get to that point. Does that mean that I hate, that I'm mad at everybody at promoters? No, it just means that my motivation has changed over time.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I think it's kind of like and John, please interrupt me, because I know you've got something you're thinking about. Like with we see a lot of like bigger, like NFL athletes would be another good example. You see them, everybody loves them, they adore them, and then like their core life or their central life or their like home life or whatever you want to call it is crap. They don't have actual people that care about them or like that they care for. It's a very facade type thing. And I think in some ways maybe I'm like the opposite. So maybe I come across on this podcast a certain way, or even on how I celebrate the contest, and like, yeah, that's like Andrew the athlete mode, but when I'm not in Andrew the athlete mode, I try to be a really compassionate coach. I'm getting better at being just like a better person in general. But I have brothers and parents and family I care about, and from like a more local perspective, I have some kids I train that I would give them. I would do whatever for them because they remind me of myself. And so like I really don't. I've begun not to care as much about what people think on the internet and my opinions, because quite frankly, they never gave me anything anyways. Like the kid I'm helping deadlift, like who just sent me a video of him doing like 4 plates, and he's a teenager, and he like smoked it and says, "Hey, do you think I have more?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can do that for 3." Like that right there is going to give me way more gratification than hearing from someone else on their opinion on whatever. So, as long as whatever I do in the sport can help other people, and, that's why I try to push, I talk about mental health, we talk about an athlete getting hurt, I help push that GoFundMe, because I don't know, for whatever reason, whether you agree with GoFundMe or not, injuries suck. And even if you have insurance, guess what? You can't work. You can't work. And you're laid up and you're depressed. So you're telling me I can't send a guy $20 to, be able to buy some candy to feel good about himself, or to buy a book? Like it's mind blowing.
Yes.
But yeah, if people don't like my opinions on this podcast or on my social media, that's fine, because I know what I'm doing, behind the scenes and who I am, and I'm doing things that I'm trying to help people. And talking on a podcast or stuff you post on Instagram is just smoke. It doesn't
Yeah.
really do anything. So
Yeah, I mean, and I think some of it's with age too, man. I mean, the older you get, the less you care about shit. You know, hopefully, neither one of us end up being the guys with his dick out in the locker room. He doesn't care at all anymore. but that's kind of what I know. As the older I get, the less I care about. Because you can't please everybody, right? You're never going to please everybody, and that's when John and I kind of started off with this. We're like, are we going to end up being hated or liked? And I'm like, either one way or it's going to happen one way or the other. It's out of our control. And if people don't like it, then they don't like it. But you're going to have people that do, right? You're going to have haters, and you're going to have people that love you. I mean, that's just the way life is. And you got to focus on what you can control and let go of the rest.
I mean, it's interesting when you talk about having people.
Hey, John, can I ask you a question to add to your thing too, though?
Yeah.
Tell us if the podcast is hated or liked. I want to know your opinion. Are you guys hated or liked?
I think some people like us. I think we have a decent amount of people.
That's such a guarded answer.
I mean, no, I think we haven't gotten any really negative feedback yet.
Okay.
And everything, other than like my coworkers who they're like, you guys film with terrible audio quality and video quality. And I was like, oh, that's what we're working with. Like, because I think that's the main thing is I think people like it. I mean, people have asked us to do merch. And I think that was kind of leading to what I was saying when you talk about NFL. I don't understand why OSG, they could, in the months leading up to it, take pre-orders for shirts that they'll ship out like 2 weeks before the event, where you can get an Andrew Clayton shirt, OSG 2022. You choose your size and color. Like, you could design a merch thing. Shirts are like anywhere from $5 to $8 a piece, sometimes 10 or more. But have the athlete get half of it and they get half. And it's a way to support things. And I don't understand why. The NFL is great because they merchandise everything. Whereas it's weird with strongman, we have all these big things, and it's like, who's doing the merch? Like you can't.
Who's doing the merch?
Yeah, like there isn't like jerseys.
I've always caveated right on the show here that, the caveat is that we have opinions, but we still have to have some consideration that not only is there really no money in the sport for athletes, there's not a lot of money in the sport for the vast majority of promoters either. And so they're working on very, tight budgets, few resources. In some cases, it's just one or two of them managing the entire show until the day of, right? Then the volunteers show up and help, right? Of course. But there's only so much that some of these guys can really do on their own. I agree. It would be great if we can get to that point, but we need to get more money in the sport so that not only the athletes benefit, but the promoters should benefit too for all the hard work they do. So should the volunteer. We shouldn't have volunteers. We should be paying the people that do the most work at the shows, right?
I mean, I guess it all comes down to this. There needs to be more viewership, and I guess as an athlete, it's just you don't know if you're doing your job because no one's told me like I have a performance review or anything. It's just when I go out there, I try to do the best performance. So I guess in some ways, like, the athletes can, your Instagram, stuff like that, you can push the links and advertise and stuff like that. Maybe I didn't do as much for that because I kind of didn't want people to know how ready I was for the show. But like, I feel like that might not be my responsibility. Like, I shouldn't, like, there should be different departments of it, So my job is to bring the best product. And that's like, that will always be my opinion. As the athlete, I'm bringing the best product. You monetize, advertise, create the documentary of, at one time it was going to be, 3 returning champions at OSG, 105. That would have been insane. Like if you can't monetize that, that would have been crazy. But yeah, as an athlete, I don't feel it hopefully isn't my responsibility forever. But right now it is kind of my responsibility of like making sure all my people subscribe to the feed and all my family and stuff like it's kind of like multi-level marketing, I guess.
That's the thing. They should be treating you as a partner, though. Like very much your business partner. Of like it's one of the few things where like you're the star of the show, but you're paying to do it. And in many ways,
but everybody at OSG is a star because it was a high volume show. When it's like Rogue Invitational, that's like when you're like a business partner because you're one of 10 and you're providing entertainment quality, like very high entertainment quality, like Martins. Like even though he got hurt. There are people that literally just want to tune in to see Martins and him just do that, Martins. That's all they tune in for. They just want to see their guy do that, his thing, and whether he got first or what he got third, it didn't really matter to them. They just want to see their person they watch on YouTube and the content they want to see him, live, and they paid for it. So
there is a different vibe with the guys, at the very top, the open guys, at the Rogue Invitational and World's Strongest Man. Because you're right. There's a lot of athletes that don't even make the finals, but have a tremendous following, right? Or still getting paid in some way or another. And I think, John has talked about it a lot on the podcast is, self-promotion, having the YouTube, having the content, and maybe, I'm just kind of reiterating what John has said, that it's not always quantity, it's quality, right? To really gain that following. And that's something that I agree is really hard for me too. It's not my forte, not my forte at all to come up with, good content every day. It's really important, I think, to that's where the team really becomes a big part of it. Is you got to have good people behind you, and you have to have people that want to help you succeed in those goals. And that's unfortunately, if we're not making a lot of money and everybody around us has to work, it's a lot of additional responsibility on everybody. Unfortunately, it's tough. It's really a hard position to be in if you want to grow your brand, so to speak.
We do have to wrap up soon because I have a slightly limited time, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think we're well beyond an hour.
Yeah. Andrew, what all advice do you want to give to the listeners? How can they help you, but also help people
I don't like accepting compliments and help. It's something I'm never really good at. But I think I just always pass it forward. I had some clients who sponsored me, and because of that, I was able to help someone else. And because that person gets help, who knows what they're going to do? They're able to pay an entry fee for someone else, and it all comes around eventually. And I think as much as there's rivalries and things I'm upset about and things like that, I think I still understand. No matter how upset or frustrated, at the end of the day, we're the only people that know how it feels to do what we do. So when people get injured and I see that they get injured or something like that, I still love them as my peer. I mean, it's crushing to see people get injured or hurt or not be able to perform well. So whether we butt heads and we hate each other's opinions on the politics of sport, at the end of the day, if you get hurt or something's going on, I'm going to care about you just as much as anyone else, because you do the thing I do, and you're one of the only people that understands what it takes to do it. So I guess I'll end it with that, is just pay it forward. It comes around. I guess it goes for anything. And it's okay to be competitive and kind of dislike people sometimes. But even Mr. MJ there, he still had respect for everyone. It's just he just wanted to beat everyone. And I think at the end of the day, what makes great athletes is they had rivalries, but it didn't mean they didn't like each other. I like the rivalries and people I go against because they made me who I am. And without them, there's no me. So I guess that's my way of also saying thanks to all my competitors at OSG and throughout my time in strongman is there's no one I can't think of I came in contact with, going back to Scott Helms. At the time I thought he was being a jerk to me as a judge and promoter of that contest, and now he's someone that gave me a core tool. So it all makes me who I am. All the people, whatever. I'm just rambling now. I'm rambling. Yeah.
That's a good positive note. It's a good positive note to end on, I think. Camaraderie is what got me to stay in the sport. It's what really attracted me to it. And I think that's one of the great things about strongman is that, we can be rivals at the sport, but still be, each other's biggest fans sometimes, right? We can still help each other. And still have empathy for each other. So, the camaraderie of strongman is an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think it's good. That's a good note to end on. But I also think the important thing is actually support people in the sport of if you can, small things of interacting with people's content, comment on people's posts, help them grow, even if you can't give people money we do have a Patreon for the show, and Anchor FM, you can support us. And but like you can support everyone in small ways of like subscribe, like actually interact with it, like do these things like you would do for your friends, because it's really just like these small things of like in a click-based economy, like liking and interacting with someone's content is a way that you can help them out. If you're like, if you don't have a way to help out someone financially, sharing their stuff, interacting with it, that can go a long way for just overall exposure. But also when you do see people's GoFundMe's, it's not the end of the world to give someone $5, $10, $50. Like, I mean, you don't necessarily have to give everyone $50 because I used to do that and it does actually add up. So you like, but do these things of like help people out where you can, because at the end of the day, that's the only way this is going to be sustainable. Of like put money in there the same way you would buy like NFL jerseys are remarkably overpriced if people buy them. Like buy people's merch if you can. Like I bought Luke Davies, like I have two sweatshirts, like
Yep.
yeah. I was like, I don't
I have one of his
cool
original shirts, like before they got to be really comfortable. His like, I don't know where it is, original dry fits.
Yeah,
First run he ever did back in like 2016 or 17.
that Gildan cotton. Yeah.
No, not Gildan. It was a dry fit. It's just
right, yeah.
The print. It doesn't print as well on dry fit because of the material. Kind of like it kind of stretches.
Yeah. But I think like support those people in those small ways of like you realize so many of these people, I think we kind of envision that they're living lavishly, or like because we see them, you're like, oh, and then you realize they're just people. Like they have bills to pay, they have all these things. Some of the people even at the top, when you find out behind the scenes, you're like, that money does go, but when you're paying for businesses and your staff and everything, like it doesn't go as far as you would think when you're trying to have a whole team that you're supporting. So I think actually support the sport, like support the things that you like, and maybe don't spend so much money on the NFL and like things like that. They have plenty of money already.
Now Instagram is gonna like block us from all the NFL tags.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, the NFL draws like $14 billion a year in endorsements, man. I think we could.
The hell of a nonprofit.
We could use like $1 million of that and be pretty well off.
We need a beer for a beer for strongman or something. Not that I even drink beer, but like that's what we need. You know, there seems to be like a beer and like tobacco product, and I mean we already have CBD. Too much of that.
I don't think we can advertise tobacco products though anymore. I think
you can anymore.
Technically illegal.
If someone signs up,
I was trying to think of the things that like wouldn't even go as strong, and somehow we could get money out of it.
I think we can advertise weed, but not tobacco.
McDonald's.
But yeah,
McDonald's sponsors Olympians, so
yeah,
once we get McDonald's sponsor or endorsement, we're set.
Oh, we should.
Yeah.
And I know
that's all it's going to take, right? And but
Wesley Claiborne's going to bring it. I know he's going to do it. He's going to make it happen.
Do you have any last words?
What's that?
Do you have any last words before we end the recording?
Yeah, sorry. If you guys want to follow me, I'm at Running Strongman, and my business is First Called Strength. But like I said, please be nice to people. Please donate to people. And if you're not going to donate to a GoFundMe, just mind your business because no one wants to hear it. To save your money and give it somewhere else. And we don't make you don't hear the opinions about how you waste your money. So don't worry about how I'm spending my money on a GoFundMe. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for